Let's look at the verbal sentence. As I said, this is just exposure today, the verbal sentence. You're not expected to master this. Now, can anyone give me a basic verb sentence? One second. Can anyone give me a basic verb sentence in English? Yeah, go on, Mariam. I left. Okay, good. I left the classroom. Okay. I left the classroom. Okay, there you got a basic verb sentence, and thank you, you put it in the past as well, which is useful because all the verbs we're studying so far are in the past. We're not dealing with present or future. Okay, sorry, present or future yet. Yeah. Yep, so I left the classroom. Now, what are the elements of this sentence? Okay, this is a verbal sentence, so obviously what have we got in it? We've got a... We'll leave that first. What's the obvious thing? We've got a verb in it. Where's the verb? Left. That's the action. Okay, there's your verb. There's an action. And then obviously with a verbal sentence, we need someone that's doing the action. Okay, you can't have an action without someone doing it, or it's not, doesn't exist, and we spoke about that. Moving the arm, I move the arm. If you take I out the picture, is there any action happening? No. Impossible. Okay? So, we need the doer. Who's the doer? Who's the one doing the leaving? I. And we call that the subject. Okay? In Arabic, even in English, these are the two fundamental parts of a verb sentence. Okay? This, which we call the object, is not a fundamental part. I'll look at that in a minute. So subject is the doer, then we've got the action, and then we've got the object who's getting it. So a very simple, crude example is there's Faizan and me. I punched Faizan. So what the punch is happening, a punch is happening. Who's enacting the punch? You are. I am. And Faizan is receiving it. Okay? So that's it's affecting him. Okay? I'm affecting it and it's affecting him. Does that make sense? Okay? So that's what the object is. Or as we said, you know, I ate the cream donut. The cream donut's getting it. So the cream donut is the object. And who's the subject? I'm enjoying that cream donut. Okay? So this is subject, verb, object. Is everyone with me? Okay? In Arabic and even in English, objects are not fundamental parts of the sentence. I could pull that out of the sentence and it still carries a meaning. Obviously, it feels like there's some stuff missing, but it still carries a meaning. I left. Does that make sense to you? You say, I've left, he's left, she's left. It carries a meaning. So subject and verb are the essential elements of an Arabic sentence, of a verbal sentence. Objects not. And this is a bit of extra detail, so you don't need to know this. I'll say this about half of everything I say. But we call the, if it's an essential element of the sentence, in Arabic we call it an umda. An umda is what we call a pillar. Someone told me you even have this word in Urdu. Yeah, what's it mean? It means something very different. Yeah, but it means a pillar. I.e., if you pull it out, what happens? The whole thing collapses. So, subject is a umda. Okay, I'll write that in Arabic transliteration as well for you. The subject is an umda. If you pull I out, does it make sense, the sentence? No. Left the room. Well, who's doing it? If I pull out the action, does it make sense, a sentence? The classroom. No. Doesn't make sense. So these two elements are what we call pillars, or in Arabic, umda. If the element of the sentence is not necessary to the sentence, we call it in Arabic from the same root, a fadla. You're thinking of fadila, which you pronounce in Urdu, obviously, fazila, okay? Which means an extra element, okay? It's not necessary, or you could say an unnecessary element, Okay, it brings something to the sentence, I don't deny that, but it's not necessary. Like, for example, you've got the fada'il, fazail, you say, isn't it? Okay, these mean extra acts that are not necessary, but they enrich the act. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. Okay, and everyone besides Nushaba. Everyone else is quiet, Nushaba. Is everyone happy with that? Yes. So, shout out, be loud and proud. Okay, so we've got, what have we got in Arabic sentence? We've got umda or pillars. Call them what you want, you don't need to know the Arabic. So, pillars or umda, yeah, and we've got fadla, which is an extra. Yeah, it's not necessary.
The object, basically.
Yeah, that's at the moment, that's the object. There's other things that are extra. Okay, but at the moment we're just... Now, in a noun sentence, what's the two elements of a noun sentence that we've done? Subject and news. Or call it what you want. A subject and news. Okay? Are they pillars or are they extra elements? They're pillars. You can't pull out the news out or the subject or the news in a noun sentence. If I say Muhammadun Nabiyyun, if you pull out either one of those, it doesn't make sense anymore, the sentence. So they're necessary elements. They are pillars of the sentence. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. Is everyone happy? Yeah. That's good. Okay. So, and then verbal sentences. We have two types of verbal sentence. We have verbal sentences that don't have that have objects, and we have verbal sentences that don't have objects. Can anyone think of a verb that doesn't take a object? A verb that doesn't take an object. Anyone? Go on, Sophia. Good. So give me a sentence using that. I, for example. Yeah, I was sleeping. Let's use the simple past just for the sake of simplicity. Oh, I spelt. Sorry. I slept. Exactly. Okay. Is there an object there? No. We've got the I is the subject, the person doing it, and sleep is the verb. Okay. I don't sleep you. Okay. It doesn't make sense. Okay. And so there are some verbs that have objects, and there's some verbs that don't have objects. Is that clear for everybody? Now, so the next thing about verbal sentences are, do you notice the sentence order in English? What is it? Subject, verb, object. In English, sentence order is necessary to convey the correct meaning. Yeah? So, for example, if I say, a good example is, I ate the roti. If you change that sentence order, the roti ate me, does it change the meaning? Yeah, it completely changed the meaning. One day the roti might get it back on you, yeah? All those years of, you giving it to the roti might come back. It got slapped around, it got eaten. Okay, it might take revenge one day. So you'll notice, you appreciate that in English, sentence order is fundamental to convey the meaning. Arabic, not at all. Sentence order has no relevance. Well, it does have relevance, but it's not it's not necessary for the meaning. And that's what we're going to appreciate. Okay? We're going to see examples of that in a bit. Okay? So in English, the sentence order is subject, verb, object. Now, every language is unique. Like, I've heard Turkish, they actually put the object first, which is really interesting. Okay? I don't know if you can play around it. Verdu, can you play around with the sentence order?
You can make the... Not always.
Yeah?
Not always.
Okay. Well, in Arabic, you've got free license to do whatever you want. Okay? So, I'm going to give you... Now, there is an assumed sentence order in Arabic. There is an assumed sentence order, the usual sentence order, but it's not necessary. So the usual sentence order is... Let me just make sure. So, give me a verb that we've done in Arabic so far. Good, there's one. Dhahaba. What's that mean, Maryam? Good. Outside of a context, we will say it means to go. We use the infinitive, we call it in English, to go. But in a sentence, that translates as what? He went. Verbs, the base verb in Arabic always translates in the past. Okay, it always translates to the past. So dhahaba. What's another? So that means he went. What's another verb we've done? So let's just recap. Don't look at anything, because remember, transferring. Let me do my catchphrase first, don't say that. Transferring.
It's not
Learn, Sophia, there you go, mashallah. Okay, there might be some free prizes for you. Okay, so dhahaba. What's another one? Just off the top of your head. If you don't know, you don't know. Go on. Qara'a. Yeah. Good. Good. Okay. What's qara'a mean, Sophia? Good. To recite or to read, but in a context, what's it translate as? He recited or he read. Okay. And that's the sort of that we can appreciate with this verb. When the Prophet ﷺ was in the cave, he was told to what? Now, good. In Arabic, he was said iqra, and that can convey two different meanings. It could convey what? Read or recite. But the Prophet ﷺ, what did he understand from it? Read at first, and he says, I'm not unlettered. I don't read. Okay. But then in some of them in the end, some interpret the last phrase, because you can interpret in two different ways. What shall I recite then? Or what shall I read? Okay, if I'm to read. Okay? And so it can convey both meanings, qara'a. In a context, it means he read. What's another? And that's the one I'm going to use today, so well done. All the other classes, they left that one till the end. Okay, they think. So we've got that second. What's somewhat more we've done? We're just off the top of your head, Farzana? Qa'ada. Brilliant. What's qa'ada mean? To sit, and in a context, he sat. He sat. Someone said in the Blackburn class they're struggling to find a link. They can't keep that one. So just I think of qa'ida, and I just think of Osama bin Laden sitting down waiting to shoot somebody. Okay. So because it comes from the same root. Okay. If it works for you, it works. Okay. So that's the idea. And it does have those nuances about sitting up and sort of being observant. It has that sort of nuance. Okay? What's another one we've done? Go on. Who said that? Was that you, Amina? Kharaja. What's that mean? He left. Good. Out of a context, to leave. In a context, he left. So they're the four that we've studied. And that we're not going to touch verbs again for a long time. So we're only going to deal with these four for the time being. Okie dokie, let's do qara'a then. Okay, so qara'a an-nabiyyu al-Qur'an. What's that translate as, Adnan? Qara'a an-nabiyyu al-Qur'an. You can't get away with doing Nabi. Yeah.
The Prophet.
Yeah, okay. So the Prophet read the Quran, brilliant, or recited the Quran.
The Prophet is reading the Quran.
No, good. I like this question. There you go, no. So, with all the verbs, because we're going to study that later. We're going to study how to form them into present and future, okay? There's more than me on your case today, Amjad, okay? So, what do you notice about the sentence order? What's first? Verb. Then?
Subject.
Then subject, then?
Object.
Object. Ah, very different to English. What's English?
Subject, verb, and object.
Object. Okay, so verbs first. That's the verb first, that's the assumed sentence order in Arabic. That verb comes first. Okay? And like I said, sentence order in Arabic has not a great significance. Sentence order in Arabic doesn't have a great significance. It does have some, but not. So I can do this, look. An-Nabiyyu qara'a al-Qur'an. What's that translate as? The Prophet recited the Quran. Yeah? Same thing? Okay, well, let's come forward. Okay? There's a nuance though. There's always a... now, we've got to always ask ourselves, if it doesn't follow this structure, verb, subject, object, something's up. Something's up. So when an Arab hears this, not a modern Arab, but an Arab in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when he heard that, he'd say, oh, hang on a minute, why is this? And there's always a purpose, okay? The Quran, it's like a movie. If you think about movies, they say, there's this Russian playwright, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, he was saying, if the pistol's in the scene, in the first scene, you better be using it by the third scene, or it shouldn't be there. So they say about movies, basically, when the camera's focusing on a scene, if you see something in there, there's a significance to it. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, and some movies really play cleverly with this. Now, so the Quran is like and what's really beautiful as well is, you could be, if you think about this room, I could be focusing on thousands of things, couldn't I? There's 1,000 possibilities of me, more than 1,000. I could focus on this little speck on the carpet. I could focus on that post. I could focus on the millions and trillions of things in this room, isn't it? My mind can focus on anything. Why does it choose to focus on some things then? There's a reason. Allah's bringing that to you because there's a purpose. Why do you remember things about your past? Some things are just so much, seem so mundane, don't they? Why do I remember that detail when it doesn't seem significant? But there's a purpose. We're just not clued onto the purpose. And likewise the Quran. The Quran is a manifestation of the creation in that it's a stream of divine consciousness. There's a purpose in everything. Okay, but it leaves us sometimes thinking, why does that happen? And we're going to appreciate that in the Quran. So when he brings it forward, why? The mind asks why. Any ideas why? What's that mean? An-Nabi qara al-Quran.
It's to emphasize, obviously.
Obviously, yeah, good. When you bring something forward, it's to emphasize, good. But that everything's emphasis. You're going to learn this. Is that I say, why is that? And you just say emphasis, and you get the answer right. Okay. But there's levels to a new emphasis. Why do you think? What's it mean? Any ideas? Blank faces. It means only the Prophet read the Quran. If I said the Nabi, I'm turning to the Prophet read the Quran, it means that Zayd could have read the Quran as well. And so could have read the Quran along with him. But when you say this, it means the Prophet alone recited the Quran. Okay, so when you bring something forward, it means that alone, usually.
It's like specific, if it's for
being more specific, yeah. That it's focusing just on, he's the one that creates the Quran, he's the one that recited the Quran, Sophia.
So both of those sentences actually mean the same thing?
They mean the same thing, but there's a shade of meaning that this brings. So if you really want to be specific, this means the Prophet recited the Quran. This is the Prophet alone recited the Quran.
So just because it's being placed first,
Yes.
he's the only one that read it?
Yeah.
But how will we know, for example, and the B is in the middle at the moment,
Yeah.
right? So how will we know that there is somebody else as well? Will it be mentioned further on?
No, it's just applying that it could be. It opens it up to possibility. It's not necessarily going to mention anyone. It's just stating a fact. The Prophet recited the Quran. That opens up possibility that others could have as well. But the moment you've got abnormal sentence structure, we call this, then, one second, Amjad. The moment we've got abnormal sentence structure, that's implying something specific. This doesn't specify. This does specify.
Okay.
Now, Amjad. Yeah.
So are you saying when you bring the subject first, that specifically means only that person?
Yes.
When we're talking about the subject.
Yes. Yeah.
And the verb, the object. If
Yeah.
the subject comes in at the very first word of a sentence,
Yeah.
that means it only relates to that person.
Yes.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
That's the nuance about it.
Yeah. So if I said to you, for example, look, even in English we do this, like, who recited the Quran? I say, Amjad recited the Quran. You hear that? Now in English, how do we make that stress? We use tone in English, don't we? We use tone. What's beautiful about Arabic is it uses tone, of course. Every language uses tone, but it also uses sentence structure. So when you see when you're reading a text in English or any language generally, it's dry of emotion, isn't it? But it's it's all the components coming together, the whole flavour that you can sort of work out the emotion of the text. Well, the film is brilliant because film. Here's an example. Imagine a scary scene in a movie. If there was no music whatsoever, would it be as scary? No. It's that crescendo, building up to a crescendo that creates. And in the Quran, we've got all three elements. We've got the recitation. We've got the word order to create emotion, We've got the tonality to create emotion, and we've got the music to create emotion. What's the music?
The melody.
The melody. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, whoever doesn't sing the Quran is not one of us. That's an essential element to the Quran, is recitation, singing it with beauty. Because that creates, and the real Qari, he plays around with mood here. He can pick up on this, and he will use his tone. Some of the wildest examples of this is in Morocco. These old men who are imams in the mosque, very strange how the way they do it. I've never seen anyone else recite Quran like they do. They read it like a story. So the first time I ever was in Morocco, I was a young 18-year-old boy, what's his name? Rodney, out of Only Fools and Horses. Okay, complete. There, I'm in Morocco in Fez, and my first prayer was Fajr, and there's this mosque right outside my hotel, this hostel, and I walk in, and there's this mosque's huge. It goes, imagine it's like this. It's really narrow, and it just goes whoosh, all the way across, and it's all reed matting. You know, you have this from Pakistan, don't you? Reed matting, but it's a specific type the way they do it in Morocco, and it's very unique. And so there it is. It's all reed matted. So I'm walking in and saying, this is a bit of a weird mosque. I've only been in Bradford before this, so you know that was how I gauged what a mosque was. And then there's all these grandfather clocks all over the place. I'm thinking, what's going on here? Then I see people praying, and the two things I notice about their prayer, one is they're all off-centre, they're all praying at an angle, because in Fez, many old cities this happened, traditional cities, is that they got the mosques slightly off the prayer direction. And so, because there's pillars, you can't just do a straight line. So what they did, the way they solved it is, they basically do this. It's very strange, okay? If you've never been to Morocco before and you see it, you think, what on earth's going on? Then also, because it's North Africa, it's a Maliki country, a lot of them pray with their hands by their sides. So I was walking in and saying, this ain't Bradford anymore, you know? And so, then the Imam and the Muezzin come in. And the Imam's this huge guy that waddles in like this, okay? And the Muezzin is this scrawly, vulturous old guy that's walking alongside him like this. And he's got this huge set of ring of keys, probably about 30 to 40 keys on the thing. And they're walking together, so the Muezzin gives the iqamah for the prayer, and he goes like this. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. It's this scrawny voice. Okay, so we all line up, and then this huge Imam goes, Allahu Akbar. He's got the deepest voice you've ever seen. And then he starts reciting, and I've never heard a recitation like it. He recites like he's reading a story. He goes, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. I'm like in prayer thinking, what on earth? Where am I? Okay, pinch me. Then at the end he says, غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. And the whole people go, Ameen, along with him. And I'm nearly breaking out in stitches. I've got stitches. I'm like, what is this? Then, anyway, he finishes, it's not over yet. Then he continues. In the second rak'ah, in Maliki fiqh, they recite their dua qanut in the Fajr prayer. So after the second surah, they go quiet, everybody, and they do their dua qanut, Allahumma inna nasta'inuka, and they all do it silently together. So I'm thinking, what are they munching on? Because I'd never seen this before, so I was like, this is strange. No.
Palestine, they read it loudly.
Oh no, it's because the Shafis do it loud generally, and they do it behind the Imam. So he does that, and I'm thinking, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, and then there's that, and then we're sitting down quietly for the prayer, and then before I know it, the grandfather clock hits. It goes dun 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 dun. I'm like, what is going on? Anyway, we finish the prayer, and I walk out the mosque a bit bewildered, thinking, am I still in a dream? Did I really pray Fajr? And I found out I'm locked out the host hostel. So I don't know what to do. And there's this bunch of young lads, like Bradford, smoking weed outside in the street. And they come up to him and say, do you need some help? And I'm like, no, you know. And they said, no, it's all right, I'm the Imam's son, he says. And he says, I'll go and I'll sort it out for you. And I'm like, oh my God. So Morocco.
What's the significance of the clock then?
They just love their grandfather clocks.
Or it wasn't an indication for to do anything.
No, no, no. They just got a fetish for it going 5 o'clock.
That definitely belongs to Del Boy, that doesn't.
So anyway, I learned in Morocco, there's a saying in Morocco, إذا كنت في المغرب فلا تستغرب. It's a play on words. As long as you're in Morocco, don't be confused or expect anything, basically. فإذا رأيت حمارا يطير. So if you see a donkey flying in the sky, قل إن الله على كل شيء قدير. Okay, Allah is able to do all things. Okay, so that was my first experience as an 18-year-old, just being Muslim for a few months, and then turned up there. And there's many stories of what happened to in Morocco. So that's an appreciate. The whole point of that story is appreciating how we play with tone. Okay, and that's really important. The Qari, a real Qari, knows how to do that. He shifts abnormal sentence structure. How do I play with it? Okay. Where were we? Yeah. So there's one more. Well, there's more than that. There's many permutations and possibilities here, but I'll just do one more. Al-Qur'an qara'a an-Nabi. What does that translate as?
Read by.
No, yeah, good. I understand what you're doing. So Maryam made it a passive sentence. She said the Qur'an is being recited by the Prophet. Yeah, but that's not how it translates as the Prophet recited the Qur'an, because sentence structure doesn't have any. If you want to be, if you want to get to the nitty-gritty, it means what?
The Prophet recited the Quran.
No, but why is that this sentence structure change from there? That's what that one translates as.
Because the Quran has to be.
Why is it being put first?
Because you need to emphasize.
Why?
Because it's more important thing in there.
Because it's the only thing he recited. If I say An-Nabi qara al-Qur'an, or this one, it means he could have recited the Qur'an, he could have recited another book. It doesn't specify it. Whilst if I bring this forward, it's specifying specifically the Qur'an has been recited alone. Now, I know some people say that the Qur'an recited the Prophet. Okay, that's not, because word sentence order doesn't do that. What's telling me who's doing what and what's getting done to? What's telling me in this sentence?
The Quran is read by.
Look carefully.
The middle word, the middle word.
No, you're all off.
Quran and Nabi.
Dhamma.
Dhamma. Harkas.
Exactly, the vowels. Yep. That's what's telling me. So the doer, the one's doing it, what do you put on the end of him? Dhamma, the pesh. So the way I remember this is, ooh, you assert yourself. Yeah? So if you're in someone that asserts himself, you say, ooh, yeah? And the person that's getting done to, what's he take? Fatha. Ah! Because he's getting done to. Does that make sense?
So if you put Dhamma at end,
it means you're doing it. And if you put a fatha on the end, it means he's getting it. Yeah?
he's receiving it, you mean?
Yes. Well, I'm speaking as plain English as Bradfordian as I can to you, MJ. You're going to get it. Okay? And then MJ wants to complicate it by saying he's receiving it.
Yeah. What's the significance of the kasra then?
Wait, there is. We deal with that one.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't got kasra yet. We'll deal with that.
Something
Yeah, we're going to have a whole chapter on that. This stuff we're going to deal with far later. I'm just introducing it to you. So, U is the doer. Ah is the one, yeah, whatever you want to call him. Does that make sense to you? So that makes the sentence order is not important from that aspect. We can always identify who's doing what because the endings. And today we're going to look at one specific ending today. Okay? So this is a verb sentence. Is that clear for everyone? Yes, Nushaba?
Letter ending or the harkas?
The haraka. The vowel, we call them vowel endings. Yeah. Or harakas, whatever you want to call them. Is that clear for everyone? There you go. There's always something new, MJ, you're going to learn in this lesson, yeah? Okay, so we're going to... So if you go to page 7, I think it is, ladies and gentlemen. Just as a reminder to you, I want you to do this, but you don't have to, no compulsion, no guilt here. But it would be good if you could attempt this exercises we're going to cover in class before. But if you do that, don't do them in the folder. Do them in a separate exercise book so that, it's all right, loads of people made that mistake this week. But next week, there'll be hands chopped. Okay? So, so that when we're in the lesson, we've got a clean page and we can attempt it again. Because it's nice to attempt it a few times just to get into it. Is that okay for everyone? So it's page, what, Faizan was it? Page 7, exercise, the number 1.
The Muslim read the book.
The Muslim read the book. Is everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
The Muslim, or recited, you can say either. The Muslim read or recited the book. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Anil Shaba.
The Prophet sat on the throne.
The Prophet sat on the throne. Is everyone happy with that? Yeah. Okay, Arizma, the next one.
The missionary left and went.
The emissary or prophet, not prophet, sorry. The emissary or messenger left and went. Oh, sorry, I forgot to do the first two should be quite straightforward. So what's the subject in the first one, number 1? Muslim, what's the verb? What's the verb? Qara'a, recite. And what's the object?
Book.
The book. Okay, and the next one, what's the subject?
Prophet.
Prophet. What's the verb?
Sat.
Sat. What's the object? Now, here's a key point. This one, it's not an object.
It's not because
Go on.
it's not connected to the verb.
Now, where we only call it an object, here's a new rule. We only call, and when I bring new rules in, okay? Now, I need to give you a bit of a talk, a pep talk. Is it pep talk you call it? Yeah, about new rules. Now, if I said to you, we went to the ice cream store, and said to you, "Oh, Adnan, I'm sorry, there's a new flavour out," and you go, "Oh my God, new flavour! I'm getting overwhelmed now. New flavour? I've got 25 flavours to deal with, and you're giving me a new flavour. Are you trying to? Is that how you act with a new flavour?
No.
What do you do? Woo! New flavour! I've been dying to try something. But how is it when I say, right, we've got a new grammar rule? New grammar rule. Oh, God. How many have we got? How many have we got? Instead, say, woohoo! I'm getting bored. Where's my new grammar rule? Okay, so there's 2 ways you can react to something. Okay, why not choose the positive way? Why do you have to choose the negative way? Huh? Huh? So it's because your learning's always been traumatizing for you through your life. We're going to revolutionize learning here, okay? So just think of it. When I say new rule, you know that guy, you know when you go to the ice cream place and they've got the little scoop thing and you say, I want to try a bit before I buy it. And so you try a bit and you say, let's try that one. And then you keep going. You say, well, let's go back to that one before you say, I'm all right, I'm done. I don't need any. I don't need to buy any, okay? That's what I want you to do. Give me some more. Give me some more, okay? So new grammar rule. What is the new grammar rule? Yeah, new grammar rule is that it's only considered an object. It's only considered an object if it's direct. And here, this object's not a direct object. Why is it not a direct object?
Because of
It's got this preposition, ala, before it. It's got this word that just sorts of interferes. It's like the arsh and the nabi are trying to come together to hug. And then all of a sudden this ala comes and pops right in between them. Okay? And he's like, oh! So he's not, now he can't get direct contact with him. Does that make sense? Do you want me to say that bit again? So, oh sorry, it's the verb, isn't it? The verb qa'ada is running along to hug the arsh. And then all of a sudden, this ala is right between them. And it blocks them from like having some contact. And so that's not considered a direct object because that ala which is called a preposition. It's a particle, it's a subcategory of particles. Okay? So we don't call that an object. Then you'll probably ask me, what do you call it then? We just say that ala and arsh is connected to the verb qa'ada. That's all we say.
So the whole bit will be verb then, won't it?
It's not, we don't call it a verb, we just call it it's attached to the verb.
Attached to the
Yeah, because it's not a verb, it's not doing, it's not an action. Okay, don't get worry your little cotton socks about that too much, okay? All you need to know is if the object isn't directly connected to it, it's not considered an object. Okay. So as I said, we're going to cover this stuff way later in a far, far galaxy, far, far away. Okay. So don't you worry. Yeah. Sophia?
Is there such a thing called as a connecting verb?
A connecting verb. Why? Oh, I don't know. Okay. Don't overcomplicate things.
Can you
Yeah.
repeat again? You said ala and ursh is connected to what?
The verb.
The verb.
the car.
Yeah. Because there's a rule. All prepositions have to be connected to something before it. That's a rule. Okay, we'll deal with that later. Don't you worry your little cotton socks about that. Okay? Okay. So I like you, just imagine you're like that little kid with the stabilizers thinking you can ride a bike. You're saying, this is easy, I can do this. Okay? And then sick little daddy comes along and pulls the things and you don't realise until... Yep, so that's what's going to happen. At the moment, you're little stabilizers. You just stay in your little zone, okay? Don't get too stressed about things. Right. So what's the next one? We said the next one's خرج الرسول ذهب, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where's the verb?
The first one, the message.
Okay, so we got, how many have we got here?
The subject.
We've got, how many verbs have we got? Two. خرج and ذهب. Who's doing it? Rasul. Is there an object?
No.
Yeah, so وذهب is not the object. Were is a connector. And in Arabic, new rule.
Okay.
Woo! Okay, new rule. Okay, were is a connector, and we don't. Sorry, I've already said that. The new rule. Okay, new rule. There's no such thing as punctuation in Arabic. Don't have full stops. Don't have question marks. Don't have anything. Okay. So in Arabic, we use connectors. We don't have full stops. We just use and, which is obviously considered bad style in English, but that's in Arabic. That's how it is. So were is connecting two sentences together. It's attaching two sentences together. So ذهب الرسول is one sentence. Were has no place in a sentence. It's just connecting. And the next sentence is what?
When?
Yeah. And who's doing it?
The messengers.
Yeah. So how would we translate it? The messenger left and.
When?
Okay, you can say that.
Oh, so the messenger left and the messenger went.
That's what's understood, Sajida. That's exactly what's understood. But let me do it like this. The messenger left and
Like I was gone.
he went. Yeah. He. That's what we do in language, don't we? We use pronouns to avoid repetition when it's not necessary. Because the general rule in language is that repetition is bad style. Yeah? So if I said, for example, Samira went to the shops and Samira went and bought some chocolate, you don't say that, do you? What do you say? Samira went to the shops and she bought some chocolate. Does that make sense? However, in the Quran, sometimes Allah does do that. He mentions an explicit noun when you'd assume there would be a pronoun. So sometimes Allah in the Quran will say the messenger went and the messenger left, and that adds extra oomph to the... Yeah. We see a classic example of that in Surah Ikhlas. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ. Now you'd assume that it would be huwa samad. Say Allah is one, He is the Samad. Why is He saying Allah twice? We understand we're speaking about Allah. And now it's saying this is Allah we're talking about. This is no one normal. So it gives that extra oomph like about it. Okay? Is that clear? So that's something to appreciate, Fatima. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let her speak. Okay, Fatima, go on. He went. No, he doesn't. He doesn't want to tell you, Fatima, where he went. Okay. So, yeah. Sometimes we don't give you all the information. Okay. Do we? Okay. Here we go. Fatima, can we say this? Okay, I'll say this. I've left and gone. Yeah, that's what it means. And here's, you've raised something I never even thought about to tell you, is that in Arabic, went and got and have gone are the same. It's context that tells us. In English, we've got two different tenses. We say, and it's really confusing. English is proper hard. Present perfect and present simple is very difficult because most languages don't have this concept. What's the difference between I went and I have gone? Okay, and Americans really mess it up. They don't use it properly at all. Okay, so I have gone and I went. Okay. Anyway, why have I got to that? But you can translate it that way, both. You could translate the messenger has gone, has left, and the messenger has gone, or the messenger left and the messenger, and he went. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fatih, all you need to understand that is a sentence. Okay, obviously we'd like a bit more information. Where's he gone? Okay, that's not there. Okay, but it's a verb. Why is it a subject? Why is it a sentence? Because we've got a subject and we've got a verb, not an object. There's no object here. Okay, that's what Fatima wants. She wants the object. Now, but what we say is in the second sentence, that is a verb and the subject is an implicit pronoun in the verb, which is understood as he.
Say that again.
So in the second sentence, we say there's a verb. Yes, ذهب is a verb. Where on earth is the subject? We say it's an implicit pronoun, he in brackets. That is referring back to the messenger. Okay? As I said, we're not going to be doing this. We're doing this far later. So don't you be thinking, I've got to know, I have to know this now, or we're not moving on. No, 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 no. We're going to do this later. Okay? I'm just exposing you. Okay? And whatever you get, it's like throwing sweeties to the kids. You can't have them all. You know, if I throw the whole bag to you, and you say, I have to have them all, or I'm not content, you're going to be a very miserable little child. Okay? You leave the stuff to... You have some more later, okay? So, and that's the nature of work. Even in English, if you say, I like ras malai and gujarela and faluda and kalakand, is it? I like the white fluffy stuff, I like that stuff. Yeah. What are you really saying when you say that? You're saying, I like ras malai and I like faluda and I like gujarela. That's what you're saying, but you shorten it, don't you? And you make it a list. Okay, so they're all sentences in their own right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah? Next. What, is there one more there?
Yeah.
Amreen, what's the next one?
The messenger read the Quran.
So she's translated as a messenger read the Quran, but obviously the Quran's at the beginning, isn't it? But we know that it's the messenger. And you say, well, it's obvious, but sometimes it's not obvious. Sometimes it might not be clear, but what's going to tell us who's doing what? The harakat, that dhamma is telling me who's doing it. So in some sentences, like for example, if it's Zayd hit Amr, you won't know which one. But it could be either one of them that hit. But it's and sentence structure can be all over the place. But it's the dhamma and the fatha that's going to tell you who's doing what. Is that clear for everybody?